Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. This is Instagram Live recording, streaming to YouTube as well. So this is not a pre-recorded, edited thing. This is live for 1 hour. You can skip things if you think this is important to get to the information you need. So please bear with us. This is Instagram Live, also being transmitted to YouTube for high quality. Thank you for that. So we will now be joining live on Instagram, and then the Lightbridge and the Light Lab can get started on the rules of thumb, how to use the CRLS. Easy, fast, and efficient. Okay, here we go. Hi, everybody. Instagram Live, the Lightbridge every 2 weeks live feed coming to you straight from Vienna from the Lightbridge Light Lab. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. As always, we will give it 3 minutes before we start the show so everybody can join in and we can get going. Got something really exciting today. I've been itching to talk about for a long time. Condensed information down into the thumb. So that's going to be cool. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. I hope you're having a great summer. Not too much heat, not too much rain, and not too much COVID. So I hope everybody's healthy and safe out there and can enjoy our jobs, shooting, lighting, transporting emotions. So that's the cool stuff, I believe, to focus on. At least it helps me to focus on that. Okay, so another 2 minutes before we get started here. Thanks, everybody. Hi, Judith. Judith's in home office in Lienz, in beautiful part of Austria. Wasn't sure if she's going to be here today. Hi there. Another 2 minutes. Bear with us. We just get everybody get started, and then we get going. Oh, that's that. And if you want to have a better quality, we're also streaming to YouTube. Today is not so much about the quality of light itself, but really about a really basic approach on rules of thumbs, how to use it, just what to have in mind to think about when you're setting up the CRLS, when you're thinking of using it, to get a bit better feeling of what to do. And I think it's a lot about especially what light sources to use. So there's been a lot of questions about what light sources to use with the CRLS. So I hope this really basic rules of thumb will cover everything necessary to do that. Okay, a minute to go here. I hope everybody's doing okay, job-wise, shooting-wise. How we get going. Thanks everybody for joining. It's such a pleasure every 2 weeks coming back here, sharing some stuff we've been tinkering on over the last weeks. I hope you've been having the same fun on set, shooting and lighting for that way. Okay, the rules of thumb. What basically does that mean? Well, you know, with the Lightbridge cine reflectors, it all comes down to a really, really basic natural approach to enhance the quality of lighting, but to do it intuitively and efficiently with less gear. Now, the tricky thing about not having a lot of gear is and having really reduced, streamlined gear like the cine reflectors that we produce are is you have to really understand the physics of light a little bit. So if you understand that and you can use the reflectors, you can shoot anything you want and you're going to be ready to go for anything. So basically what we did is we condensed everything down to 7 rules, and that's what we're going to go through now. I'm excited to share this for the first time, what we've come up with. So what I'm going to do here is, because obviously we're dealing here with an iPad, I'm going to flip the screen so everybody can see everything in motion. So our first rule of thumb we're going to go through is, ta-da, what goes in comes out with a plus. I'll put it onto our chart here, and during the course of the next hour, everybody can get back to this and always can have a look. So there we go. Am I tagging this correctly? Yeah, it should be fine. Good. Oh, and as Judith is pointing out, thank you so much. there's the link for our Lightbridge YouTube channel, also in the bio. Thanks, Judith, for this. Okay, what goes in comes out with a plus. I'll flip the screen again. So what does that mean? Basically, it's a reflector. So it's going to reflect light. So what we really have to think about is what qualities and what lighting are we going to put into the light source to get it out, right? And what's happening with the CRLS reflectors is because we have these 5 surfaces, it's going to come out with a plus, meaning it's going to give you this extra little level of diffusion. So that's basically we're going to have a quick look at. So no matter what color you're going to put into the light, no matter what quality you're going to be putting into the light, you're going to getting the exactly same thing, especially in color, 100% color rendering out of the reflector, but you're going to get it with a level of diffusion. So just to give you a quick intro, we posted a lot of stuff about this. What I have set up here is I put 2 aperture 60x here because they're nice and small. And basically, I'm going to try to do this like this. So I'm taking a diffusion 0 cine reflector, 7 by 7 centimeters, and just pushing onto the wall. You see it's hard as a mirror. That's number 0 because it basically is a real mirror replacement. So from there, we can go to diffusion 1, black. So it gives you a soft sense of diffusion, as you can see on the side, but really it's great for redirecting really hard sunny punches if you want to take them into the room. Then we go to diffusion 2, blue. You already see there's a lot more spread happening here. I do want to point out again, if you want to change the color in your light source, it's going to change the color of this light, obviously, to the same extent. If you're using practicals, if you're using sodium vapors, it's always going to be this precisely same color, but with the plus of the diffusion. And the great thing about the cine reflectors is we offer a really precise range of diffusions. So what we haven't seen up until now in the industry is, you see here now, it's even much more spread coming along this way. It really gives you a precise sense of diffusions that you can use. And then diffusion 4, it's a little bit too bright in here to show it, but you can see it's a little bit on the wall. Diffusion 4 is super white. It really almost has 180-degree spread, so meaning this light that's coming onto the reflector is being spread out all over display. So naturally, it's going to give you less lux on the point, but it's going to give you in lumen the same amount of light going around. So this is basically rule number 1. Whatever you're going to put into that light source, don't worry about it. It's going to be exactly that coming out with the plus. That's what we have here with the rule number 1. Okay, hello from Austria. Great to join us from Uganda. It's amazing. Let's go to rule number 2. I'm going to flip the screen again. Okay, what goes in comes out was rule number 1. Rule number 2 is the further away. Now, what does that mean? The further away means, so let me just put this up onto the wall, is when we're talking about light sources. And there's always this question coming up, what light sources to use? So the thing is, the further that light source is away from you, the less it matters what light source it is, which is kind of crazy, but that's just the way it is. Why? Because a reflector, think of it as your eye. The further the light's away or something that you're looking at is away, it's just going to be turning into a dot. And the same thing actually happens with a light source too. You got all the spread, you got all the stuff happening, but when it comes down to, for example, using parkans that have really weird colors, you have the REM series, that's the reflector, so it's going to give you really strange ripples on the side. The further that light source is away, the less it's going to matter. What light source you use, you're going to end up with a perfect quality coming out of the reflector. So we're going to have a look at this now. I did this now for the purpose of showing you. I took 2, let me show you, just take this in a little bit more. Okay, there you see. I took 2 apertures right next to each other. So just think about this being one source, meaning we're going to get crazy shadows, right? So if I just, for example, move this stand over here and put these 2 spots onto the wall, looks like one source, right? But when I put my hand in, I hope you can see this, it's double shadows. Maybe on the side isn't overexposing. Of course, we got 2 light sources, it's going to give you a double shadow. The thing is, the further these 2 light sources are going to go away from my hand, the more it's going to merge into one light source. So the same thing happens basically with the reflector. If we now, for example, pan these away again, and we take, for example, a diffusion 2, and we redirect it back onto the wall here, you see, it's a single shadow, all of a sudden. What's happening with the reflectors is they're diffusing the light. So they're taking these 2 light sources and blending them into one. And the further away this light source is, the less it matters because, and this is important, if we now go to diffusion number 1, double shadows. Hope you can see this over here on Insta here as well. Here we go. Double shadows, if you can see this. This is because this is already a harder reflector. See, it's like my face. It's really close to mirror. So it's just taking these two sources. It's not blending it by diffusion. But the further your light source is away from this, the less it's going to matter. We know this back from the days when we were using maxi prudes, right? 6, 7, 20 light sources. All the way it is, it doesn't really matter. So, but I've already touched on the next part about this thing is, the further away a light source is, the less the quality of the light matters. But here we go again. The more diffused your surface is, also the less your light source is going to matter. So I already pointed this out, and I already took it a little bit away. I'm going to go back again. Is 2 light sources, 2 shadows. If we go to diffusion 2, oops, there goes 1 reflector. You already can see it's already more diffused as diffusion number 1. I'll show you this in my face. So basically, this means you see my face and you see my face. See the 2 levels of diffusion? So this is already closer to mirror, right? But it's diffusing it a little bit, and this is diffusing it more. So the more crazy your light source is, or the more multiple light sources you have, the more diffused the surface is, the less you're going to see the double shadows. Let's do this once again. We got 2 light sources. I put my hand in, boom, suddenly it becomes 1 source. So this also helps. So if you're worrying about using an M series or using an aircraft, or you really have jumbled up a lot of light sources that you want to get into one, just take a little, if you don't have the space to move the light away, just take a more diffused surface and it's going to deal with it perfectly. It's also really cool that you can use bicolors into 1 reflector, right? So you can use 1 tungsten, 1 daylight. If you don't, for example, have bicolors, if you still have some old LEDs, you can actually redirect both light sources into 1 reflector, play around with the color temperature, and it's going to come out as like 1 light source. Easy, simple. It's kind of fun to play with if you're in that spot where you don't have the perfect light source with you. So that's something that really makes sense. Okay, so basically, this covers the quality of the light source itself. And let's not forget, what is a light source? A light source is a filament that's burning, an LED, a phosphor, or it's going to be an HMI or a tungsten. Then you got a reflector around it, and then it's going to create double, multiple shadows. You also see it, for example, on the aperture on the X series with the reflector around it. If you use it too close and directly, it's going to be multiple shadows because, of course, you got the LED in the center and you got the reflector around it. Going to diffusion 2, perfect. Take the aperture further away, perfect. So it's the same thing again that we're having with the reflectors, right? We're just reflecting it. We're adding a plus of the diffusion onto this. There goes rule number thumb number 3. Let's go to number 4. And if there are any questions coming up and I'm talking too fast because I'm all excited, just let me know. So rule number 4 is, and this is actually really cool, this is when we talk about the control of the light. Flip it around again. So this was number 3. And now we're going to move into number 4. Drums rolling. Move like a Fresnel. So what does that mean? So the thing is, for all you guys who haven't taken a Fresnel light apart, right? You got the lens here in the front, and then on the back you got the filament with a reflector, right? And by moving the filament closer to the lens, the light's going to spread. And the further you take it away, the more you're going to spot it. That's basically why you have this turning knob on the back, from flood to spot. And basically, the only way this is happening is just pure physics. You're taking the light source closer to the lens, and you're taking it further away. So that's actually something really cool to check out with the reflectors too. Let's have a look at that. We'll go back again to 1 light source. I'll turn the second one off. I'll get myself just to really show you the big difference. I'll go to a diffusion 0. Okay, so basically, let's see how I can do this with looking at it too. So here we have a diffusion 0 close to a mirror. Now look what happens if I go really close. See the size of it? See, I'm really close now to the light. Let me take this in a little bit so you can see this better. Okay, so I'm really close with the 7x7 reflector to the lens. See the size? And when I move it away, you see how it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller? It's the same concept. The closer my reflector is to the light source, the more spread you have. The further away it is, the more you spot it. So this is actually something really cool. And if you're thinking, well, how the hell am I going to use this on set? It's actually really simple. I'll take this away again a little bit. And actually, a great colleague of mine in Germany, Nils Meyer from Meyer Brothers Rental. If you're ever in Germany, one of really great rentals there. And this guy is a really great gaffer. And basically what he said with the reflectors is, look, so what he has here is a window, right? And here's the reflector, classical CRLS setup. You're going to lighting with the reflector in. So he puts the light source always on a riser stand with a wrench, so you can take the light source closer to the reflector and more down. Why? Because what he's saying is, depending on how much flood and spot I want, I've still got control over it. And if I take the light source closer to the reflector, I'm going to get more output as well, because I'm not losing too much light on the side around here. So I was always basically, the way I always go is, I always try to put the light source as far away as possible, because it's going to be more natural. But in this case, and more control, I've actually switched the way I'm working now. So it's really great if the light source on a stand, go closer, go further away, and you're always in control of how much do you want more and how much do you want less. So everybody who hasn't used the CRLS yet and you're thinking about lighting into a window, what I always recommend is take a reflector, put it in front of the window, put the light source right underneath the window, go into the reflector. Why? You got two possibilities. One is you have a really great angle, ingoing and outgoing angle. At the same time, you actually can rake the window as well if you need a little bit of light on the ceiling inside, or you just can pan it out if you don't want anything. So that gives you most of maximum control of the light sources. And also light doesn't have to go all the way up. You're using the reflector, so it's all cool. But what I've learned from Niels is take it up closer to the reflector, the more spread you're gonna get. The further away you're gonna go, the more spottier it's gonna become. So it's a really cool additional way. You don't have to swap the reflectors. Oh, we need more shafty thing. Just take it down a little bit. It's going to give you that narrow beam there to go as well. So I hope this is visibly understandable. It makes sense. That's a real cool way to set it up. Question. This great information. I was wondering how distance worked with these. Okay, so I'll just try to repeat it if that wasn't clear. The further your light source is away from the reflector, the more spottier it's going to be. Obviously, what you have to think about is, you know what? I'll keep that question to the end. Let's see if I go through the rules of thumbs, it's going to answer itself if there was something else around there. But basically, I want to add this. You only have 3% light loss with the reflectors, so you really can put your light source far away because the reflector itself won't lose a lot of light. And the 3%, it gets transformed into heat, so that's the reason you can use really hot light sources too, because all of the energy is being reflected. Okay, we moved like a Fresnel. Let's move on. Next one. I'll switch again. There we go. Size for volume. Now, what does that mean? So I'll switch back again. There we go. So the thing is, I came up with this term volume of light because, you know, when I talk about spread, we're always kind of thinking two-dimensional, right? So the light is like going away like this from the reflector, but what's really happening, it's like a comb. It's going like in 360 degrees, the light is spreading out. And like volume, when you turn up the volume and you're further away from the source, you're going to hear it better from the loudspeaker. So that's basically something that's also happening with the light sources. If you have a really small light source and the reflector is at some distance, it's going to be a spotty, narrow, shafty beam coming in that can be cool. But if you really want to have this daylight feeling, sunlight coming in, it really makes sense to try to take a bigger light source, take a bigger Fresnel, take an Arimax, or take whatever light source it is, because the size of the light source that's going into, for example, into the C100 really determines also the feel of power coming in, for example, through the window. So that's something I really want to point out. If you want to recreate daylight, you want to get the feeling of powerful sunlight. I know right now in the digital age, we don't have to use a lot of light, and that is totally true, and it looks great. But always think about, maybe it's also cool if I don't need so much light, I can use a Fresnel, a bigger lens, and go into the reflector. It is really going to increase the quality of your light. I know it's harder to carry, it's more to do, but there is something else you could do what I'm thinking about right now. If you say, look, I don't need a light. I've got, I don't know, a 600. I've got all of the Felix, the Q8s or something. It's really powerful lights already. I don't need all the light going into one reflector. You can do a double reflection, and that way this volume of light, already the size of the light source that is reflecting off the other one, you're already going to increase the size. So that's sometimes a reason I always do double reflection, because it's always about, not only about the distance of the light source to the reflector, it's also about the size of the light source in relationship, not only in flood and spot, but also in sense of feeling of powerful light coming in. I don't have any better words for it. It's something really about feeling, how the light feels in a room. And I think it has a lot to do with the feeling of power, and power has something to do with size. So if you take a bigger source, it really enhances the quality. Cool. Yes, all Insta lives are saved. Thank you so much for having this. I am so fastly. I'm so sorry. I'll run through it again. I'm just excited. I want to get all those 7 parts onto the wall, but we can go through it again. And if there's any questions, because we're going to really run through this fast today, we got time to go back and talk about it in detail. Okay, so that's all about volume. So there's another cool thing that I learned, because that's the awesome thing, right? So I was a gaffer for a long time, 20 years plus, and now starting to Lightbridge, being more in contact with other DPs and other colleagues and gaffers. I'm learning a lot from these people, and we're implementing this stuff into the new products, into the new updates, because that's, I think, is the most exciting thing, that we're sharing knowledge, that we're posting stuff on Instagram, we're learning from each other. And I love to learn every day. So for me, that's a fantastic thing. So the next one is dedicated to the amazing cinematographer Manuel Billeter. He shot Jessica Jones. He now just wrapped Gilded Age, really big guy on HBO. And what he's been doing is he's been using, and here comes the next rule. Soft source, hard reflector. So I gotta pin this on here with really tiny magnets. There we go. Soft source, hard reflector. There we go. So what does that mean? What Manuel's been doing is he's been using sky panels, and he's been not going through frames. He's actually putting them into the scene reflectors and then reflecting it off the set. And I think we should have a look at this, because this is like super exciting stuff, how to control diffused light. So I'm going to be turning off the aperture, and I'm going to be bringing in, this is soft light. You see it here, the white in the front. It's BBNS, it's an area 48 color. And basically, like all soft light sources, let's turn this on. Really soft light, right? Easy to go. So what's the problem with this? You can pan this around, and we know this from the all soft lights. We need soft boxes. We need egg crates on them to kind of control it. So what Manuel's been doing is also to increase the quality, because, you know, the further the light travels, we know this one, the more it feels like a natural light. So what Manuel does is he pans the light offset, so he's not dealing with any kind of spill any kind of way. I'm just going to shut the barn doors here. So, and then what he's doing is he's taking, dropping my reflectors today, he's taking a diffusion 1, black, and now basically what he's doing is, I'll just put this into frame so you see what I'm doing here. So he's reflecting the light off the soft source. So remember when I went directly and we said this is a soft light? I now turn it around. I take it back. Let me see how to find that angle here, and I can show you at the same time. Yeah, there we go. Okay, it's with my face. And it's soft too. It's a little bit harder, but it's still soft light, and suddenly I'm more in control of this. And it gives you a unique new quality, because it's not a direct soft light source, it's actually giving you some punch back into that diffused light. And this is, you know, because you only have 3% light loss, the LEDs are powerful enough, you can really pull this off, and you're not dealing with a lot of light that's contaminating all the set. But this is a really cool new way to control soft light. So it's really not only about using shafty hard beams of light, it's about what you're looking for. It's about your vision and how you want to create the quality that feels good for you. So this is, thank you, Manuel, for pointing this out. It's a fantastic way to do it. Especially sometimes you want the soft direct light too, right? Like fluorescent tubes you're going along, so you already have this in your package. It's great to use it like this. So that's something great to do. Okay, there was rule number 6. So we finally get to the final rule, rule number 7. Go around here. So I hope you still can see this. I'm gonna put this here. Rule number 7 is distance for daylight. Okay, I'm getting not enough space here. Just put this underneath here and bring it back again if we need it. So distance for daylight. What does that mean? I really touched into this earlier. It means is, think about the sun. The further it's away, the more natural it feels. There's no fall off, there's no sourciness. You don't have the feeling it's overexposing too fast just because the light source is so far away. So what I always tend to do is, this is actually was the initial reason why, together with cinematographer Christian Berger, these reflectors were in that way invented, because it was about recreating natural feeling of light. And obviously this means is putting nothing in the way of the light, letting it flow into the set, not putting anything in its way. And this all has to do with the further the light travels, the more the whole room's going to be lit. Just think about it. You're shooting a sunny day scene with the sun. You don't need to put up any fill light, right? You start putting up some light sources outside. Ooh, already getting too contrast. You got to set up fill light. Why? Because when the light's coming into the room, it has to bounce off the floors, it has to bounce off the walls, and it gives you this natural fill light that we know from daylight, because it is just powerful enough so everything bounces around in the room. Now, using the reflectors gives you this possibility. You let the light travel further, and you're already going to feel all these natural bounces coming back. So if you want to recreate this natural feeling, just have it as a rule of thumb: distance for daylight, put the light source as far away as possible. In this case, if you just need a little bit more, you can go back to the rule, move like a Fresnel, take it up a little bit closer. Already have the people repair it on a stand, so you can take it up and closer and further away from the reflector. But basically it means put the light source as far away as possible. And that's going to give you, and that's actually the key, I think, to recreating natural light. Of course I can, sir. There we go. So we have here rule number 1. What goes in comes out with a plus, meaning we've got 5 reflectors. Whatever quality of light you put in, it's going to come out with the level of diffusion. Rule number 2, the further away your light source is, the less you're going to feel the quality of it, like, double multiple shadows like we looked at. Rule number 3, the more diffused your reflector is, the less you're also going to feel these multiple shadows or issues that the light source is having, because the light's diffusing it. Rule number 4, move like a Fresnel, meaning always keep your light source on a stand, give you the possibility to move closer and further away again. Rule number 5, size for volume. If you're thinking about how close and far to put it away, it's always a little bit in comparison to the size you're already starting out with the light source. So the bigger your light source is, the better it's going to be if you want to recreate this really powerful feeling of light. Soft source, hard reflector. You can also use sky panels with the reflectors. It's going to give you a really new spin on how to control diffused light. And finally, last but not least, rule number 7, distance for daylight, meaning the further you put your light source away, the more it's going to feel like natural light. I've only got 2 thumbs, and I'm sure I was talking too fast. I'm sorry. But this basically is a basic overview of how to use the reflector. So if you have any questions coming up, how do you want to use it, just run through the 7 rules, and I'm sure it's going to help you find the right light sources to start out with. It's going to help you figure out how to do your setup, how to go where you want to go within the scene, and go from there. And I hope, this gives a great overview of our experience that we had until we released it with all of you guys. When we started Lightbridge, plus obviously what's happened with 2.0 and all the feedback we've got. Oh man, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm so excited to share thoughts on lighting. We don't talk enough about it. It's always about gear, but it's never about quality. And quality leads to emotions, and I think that's the only reason we're doing this. We want to inspire, and people should watch images and feel something, right? And it has so much to do with all the detail, and your heart and soul that you put into it. And that's the great thing. What we're trying to do here in the Lightbridge is to take your visions, make tools out of them, bring them onto the market. And that's what we did with Christian Berger. If you want to check him out on IMDb, Christian Berger is written. He's won Academy Awards for the White Ribbon. He's a fantastic cinematographer. You drop the 7 rules on your page. We can definitely do that. We can do some postings with them over the next course of the days, and then we can post the 7 rules. And if this helps, more than happy to do this. Because that's what it all comes down to, basically. You want to do a screenshot? Sure. Let me turn it around again. So, okay. Let's see if I get this a little bit further away. You get a better picture of it. I'm sure you got all the writing over it now, all the comments. Okay, so here is rule number 1, 2, 6. Actually, I can move back now. Let's go put this onto the floor. So, small little view of our studio. There we go. And here is rule number 7. And for everybody here on Instagram, on the end, I'm going to film it, and then you can see it as well. Yeah, wow, okay, so this is a messy screenshot, isn't it, huh? There you go. 7 rules, ta-da. Cool. Hey, Fahmy, another fantastic cinematographer. Any advice for using it indoor or night light? Of course. Let me just, we don't need to see ceiling here. So basically, there's 2 things, right? For outside, if we're recreating daylight, I try to use the most powerful source I can get because we're dealing, competing with daylight outside. So that's, yeah, even, RA Suns, for example, the old PARs, they're cheap out there. I actually really like to use them a lot. They are actually good light sources. When you go inside, right, then it gets tricky because then you want to have control over your spill light because outside you're just closing barn doors and you're done. But inside, I really go for Jolicos because you got the blades on the side to close them down. Aperture has this mini spotlight Sumia O2, which is great to use. It's always important to keep those lenses really clean to avoid any kind of contamination of spill light going all over the space. That's the big thing basically for indoor using it when we're talking about daylight simulation, K56, for example, the Jolicos. Are great to use for that way too, because if you have the reflector and you have light around it, sometimes it's cool, because you have some soft light, some bounce coming off the ceiling, then you're adding in the reflector to give you some punch. But if you don't want this, because it's a moody scene, for example, or you don't want the light there, you use the blades on the Source 4s or in the Spotlight Mini Zoom and you close it down, you're done. Or obviously, of course, never to forget the orbiter, same thing. So that's one. Number 2 is, it's actually, if you're shooting, for example, night stuff inside, and these days we're using a lot of practicals, right? And I love using the reflectors off of light bulbs, for example. Just you can hide them underneath if it's outside of frame, because the great thing is all those lampshades are giving you beautiful colors and a flavor because you picked them, I'm sure, before you shot there to recreate the scene. So if you're using the reflectors, it actually gives you the chance to take these colors and keep them and just add into this. We have some great postings on Instagram showing you how we're using the reflectors with the bulbs and how colleagues are using them out there. So that's something great to do. Exactly. It's exactly as Fernando was saying. That's a great thing about it too. Heavy lights, keeping down below, lighted upside. If you're shooting inside, and we were talking about the Licos, sometimes I do tend to put the light sources all the way up to the ceiling. If somebody's smoking or you have some haze, then you got to take care of beams. So, we have a lot of videos out there too showing, I always put the light source on the same stand as the reflector. They can move it around really simple. Then of course it's the same as Fernando was saying. I keep it down below and use it like this. And this way, you're going to avoid any kind of contamination of light on the set until it actually reaches the reflector and then obviously onto the set. So that's basically, if we want to, if we're already talking about thumbs here, outside as big a source as I can. I don't mind too much about the spill light going inside. Lico systems, lens systems for that reason, because everything else you're dealing with a lot of spill light that you don't want. And obviously using practicals is fantastic. Using it off of sodium vapor, so using them off old fluorescent tubes is fantastic too, because you're really keeping this color, which makes, I think, all the difference in that kind of way. Yeah, I hope that that set the question. There was this question earlier that I have to go back to now that Judith repeated. Oops. Okay, yeah, the screenshot we did. What is the advantage of using the reflectors over a direct light source? If you go back and you check out the old, the Instagrams we did, the lives we did over the last course of the weeks, it's really pointing out the further your light travels, the less it feels sourcey, the less it feels more natural because people can walk through it. It's not going to blow out. And that's basically one of the main reasons to use it. The other one is when we're having a soft light and you have a lot of spill light, we need to put up flags or we need to put up frames for that reason too, if you want it more diffused. This way with the cine reflectors, just swap out the reflectors so you get all kinds of diffusions and they're spill light free. You're really, like if you're using a diffusion too and you have the soft, beautiful light, you will not need a flag. It looks like no light's actually hitting the reflector. You can see this on a lot of postings. You have tons of light going around the reflector, no light's there, but the reflector looks dark because it's just redirecting their engineered precise surfaces. They're just taking this light and putting this diffused light exactly where you need it. So this is like the game changer that is, and it's unseen in the film industry. What developed over the last 15 to 20 years out there to make this possible. And I always want to point this out. It never came from a technical aspect. The idea was not to say, let's create a spill light free source. It goes much further if you want to create something that comes in depth. It has so much to do with exactly what you do with your passion. When you're on set and everybody's telling you, say, look, we got to change this, and everybody's waiting, but this is going to make the big difference. And exactly these points, when you feel you got to invest in quality, is where Christian Berger came up with this idea of using the cine reflectors. It was all about shooting documentaries, loving the light that he was having, and then having to recreate it. He never got this feeling like it was really real. And that's where the idea of the cine reflectors came across. Okay, so here was the question, how distance worked with the reflectors. Were the questions answered in that kind of way, that it has a lot to do with the control of the light, and obviously a lot to do, like it was also pointed out, if you keep the light source down below, you're shooting at the third floor, you just can put the light down below, light all the way up, go into the reflector and light into the room. So you don't have to rig lights out of windows and crazy things. They just can stay like this. Yeah. What would be a good mount, the same mount and aperture thing to the lights? And Methylene, easy. You already got the spigot on it, and it's heavy duty. It's going to hold the light easy. So I always I go for the Methylene for that reason. Sometimes just a Mayfer and a spigot too. Depends what you have. But the Methylene just has a bigger claw. So it just, in terms of making the most use of physics, it makes sense. The thing is with shipping orders, I always talk about quality of light, but this quality of light only happens because we got 3 quality controls in the company to make those things work. So it's amazing, and we feel so honored to be able to share all this gear with you out there, but we need to stick to the quality. As when you got these reflectors, 3 to 4 people checked them, really made sure you got the high-end quality of stuff, and everything's done under fair wages. It's done in Austria. So that's the reason it's taking a little bit longer than we want. And I'm not talking about all the other stuff we're dealing with COVID right now and the aftermath of whatever. But basically, that is the reason we are scaling up. We are shipping faster, but we need to stick to the quality first. How do you adjust and tweak reflector position when it's way out of reach? Well, this depends what reflector you're using. If you're using a C100, you got the holes, so you can put ropes into them. If you're dealing with like a 50 and it's mounted high up and you don't want to bring in, for whatever reason, outside of a window or something, moving a reflector is just changing the angle of light coming into going out. So you can do the same thing with the light source too. You can move the light source, and by that you're changing the angle of ingoing to outgoing as well. So by changing where the light's standing, you also can manipulate the angle. So that's something we do if it's just rigged up. Don't want to bother going out there. Just it's again how you set it up, right? Like having it on a stand that you can just take the light up higher easy. It's the same thing about being able to move it around more. So that's also a way that helps you give you control of this, if this helps, yeah, that way. Otherwise, yeah, we are releasing a motorized system for the 100s, and down the road, we're also going to be doing the same for the smaller ones too. But again, it has to be high quality. So we're really won't release it until we're really sure it's great. If one does not have a Leco to control, the spill light and the floppy flag behind the reflector also works. 100% true. I did that a long time until the Leco LEDs came around too. Putting a black doobie behind a reflector works miracles in that kind of way if you don't have a Leco. Cool. Okay. So, yeah, and thanks for that idea with the doobie behind the reflector. Very true. Yeah. Okay, any more questions coming up? Um, okay. No, I think this was all I could get. The gloves. You know, I'll be really honest here. I don't wear gloves, and the reflectors look really bad. And the best thing to do is you just clean them down the road, because I need to work fast. And the problem with the gloves is you got new stands, and then the guys and the girls don't take off the gloves because they're then manipulating the stand, and you got the oil on them, and it gets back onto the reflector. If you're really meticulous, you can do it with the gloves. Personally, I am not. Shame on me. So I need to have a cloth in my pocket, and you got the cleaning kit with it. And just before you shoot, squeak, squeak, take it away, done. And obviously, on the end of the shooting day, especially if you're shooting close to the ocean as well, it's really important because of the salt, and it's high-end aluminum reflectors, so you got to make sure that the salt doesn't even just spill some water over it, and clean them off, and you're going to be done. So that's that from there. So, and you just heard it. I dropped the reflector before. It happens. It doesn't look as wonderful as it is the first day, but honestly, it's still going to work. And it's going to work for a while until it's time to replace them. But they don't have to be in this 100% pitchback quality that we ship them out to really work. You have some error there. So we tested them like for 2-3 years on the shooting, and it was like 2-3% light loss. It's okay. It's not that bad. Yeah, and that's the thing too. With the humidity, it's really important to clean them down. And the diffusion 3 is going to go first down the road, but it's just really important to keep them clean and pack them away again. That's the reason we released 2.0, because you can't put them back into the neoprene sleeves and keep them like that on set. That's really going to help keeping them there longer. But I'm sure you've noticed that too. It doesn't look as cool anymore, but it's still giving you those 99% of the quality that they do. Yeah. And so putting them back into sleeves and really just clean them at the end of the day is a key thing to do. It's like with electronics, you need to load the batteries these days too. Even the lighting crew has to do this. So it's the same kind of process. Just you got to run into it to make that work. Yeah. Cool. Uh, yeah. Any other questions coming up? Then otherwise, with the Seekit Go, you go with Seekit Go. I get one grip. Yeah, you get two reflectors. You get two grips with them. No, you can get two with them. There are two grips in there. It's something to get used to a little bit how you want to use them. If you really want to use all the reflectors in the bag, obviously, then you're gonna need 6 C wheels to do this. I personally always had the feeling that I like to keep a little bit in spare, so I'm able to swap. So I'm not setting up everything, so then I still have the chance to add something or swap the quality and the flavor of it to there. So I personally never need all the grips in the bag, but if you want to do that, it's easy. You just get another grip bag and you go from there to make it work. Yeah. Then you got the male and the female in there, so depending on how you're gripping them, you got some chance to do that too. Yeah. Cool. Okay. No more questions coming up. Time for a wrap beer, then, so to say. On my end, it's Austria. It's already 8 at night, so I can. Okay, there. So there you go. Judith's fantastic to answer all the stuff here in the background. Yeah, exactly. It also depends how you're distributing it, right? If you, the great thing about the speed bags and the sleeves, you can take them out, you can hang them on different stands, so you're keeping them safe as long as possible. And so it's something also about with the C wheels as well. You want to have the bags because you're distributing gear all around, or it's staying all in one place. And as Judy is saying, there's no need to get more bags with that. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for joining. It's such an honor to be here for you. If you've got any ideas, what you want me to talk about, information that's missing, just send us a message on Insta and we'll try to make it happen. Up until then, please stay safe, enjoy lighting, and Emil's here, fantastic colleague. And have a great day, a great evening, and stay safe. So thank you, everybody, again. That's it. Over and out from the Lightbridge from here. Okay, I promised you this on for the YouTube feed as well. For people here. Okay, I'm still just going to do this because I promised it. So basically, we have the 7 rules here. Rule number 1, what goes in comes out with a plus, meaning the diffusions that we have. Then we got rule number 2. The further away your light source is, the less the quality of the light source will matter because the distance will take care of it. Number 3 is the more diffused your reflector is, the less your light source will matter either because the reflector is going to take care of the issues. Number 4, move like a Fresnel. You can do like a spot on the flood with the reflectors depending from the distance from the light source. So if you got a chance to go closer and further away, it's going to give you the option to get more light and more spotty or more flood. Rule number 5, size for volume. The size of the light source will matter. You will feel it on set, the power, the bigness of the source. So it's something I would really recommend if you want to create high quality daylight simulation. Or use a small light source, go into a reflector, diffuse it, and then go into the next one. It's going to do the same trick. So rule number 6, soft source, hard reflector, meaning you can use reflectors, soft light sources, and you can use the reflectors with them. So that's a cool thing to do, like using with the sky panels, like I showed earlier. Okay. Rule number 7, distance for daylight. The further away light source is, the more it's going to feel like natural daylight. So 7 rules of thumb. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much. Stay safe. Have a good one.